Welcome back to the I Empower podcast, season 2, where we hear inspirational stories and then we turn that into art that reminds us to be great. Each week, we dive deep into the story of a special person who discovered their power against all odds. But it doesn't stop there. All of the inspiration is then memorialized into a single unique painting that reminds us to be great. So if you, my friend, are looking to step out of your own way and into your life's full and well-deserved potential, this is the place for you.
When dads go out, they're not like, hey, are you a dad? Because I'm a dad. So we need to take notes from dads sometimes because they live in their element, right? When they introduce themselves, it may be like, hey, I'm John. I'm the CEO of this particular company. You know, the marriage and the kids and the family, all of that's last because they're letting you know, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is who is attached to me. Moms are the complete opposite.
So Chynna, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on. I always like to tell my my followers, my listeners, where I find my guests from. And Miss Courtney Benson with Seventh and Vine actually recommended you. So shout out to Courtney. And she told me, she was like, this girl right here, like, you need to talk to her. She's doing big things. So I was like, I slid into the DMs and was like, hey girl.
Yes. Listen, Courtney, I was like, oh my gosh, she thought I was cool enough to do something. She was like, because I love her. It was like, we actually ended up meeting on Instagram as well. And we were just having like a full-blown conversation. You know, sometimes it like flows and sometimes it like used to Mean Girls. And she was like, I just feel like we have known each other forever. I'm like, oh my God.
It's so amazing how like the internet can connect people. And I say a lot that the people that I'm closest to are people I've never actually met in person. And
exactly.
Yeah, so the internet can be a great tool for creating your community and finding people that are like-minded and very supportive. Absolutely. I have people that, like I said, I've never met a day in my life, like physically, and they support me more than people that I know.
You know what? That is like the conversation on every social media, like every day. You know, I have all these strangers that support the people that are closest. You know, it's hard to get them to support you or to take you serious or what have you. But it happens. It happens. Sometimes they wait until you are a superstar. Sometimes
and then they're like, hey, I know you. And you're like, wait a minute.
Right. It's like, oh, I know her. And then you like go back to your messages and it's like, hey, like, girl, no. But then, like you said, there's people that I've never met that have bought presents for my kids. We've watched kids go from birth to middle school to high school. Like, we've literally been in this social family. For some of us since MySpace. I was kind of late to Facebook. Too. So, listen, I got to college and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get a college email, to get a Facebook. Now you can be what, 14?
Yeah, I think I had like we're totally telling our age here, but like I had a MySpace. I did jump on that bandwagon, but again, it wasn't like super, super popular. And then I was like, I'm never getting I think I remember people at work were doing the Facebook thing and I was like, I'm never going to have a Facebook. That's silly. And now it's like, what would we do without social medias? And now it's like, you know, the big thing. I wish I would have jumped on Instagram when it was newer. Like that's one of the ones that I wish that I would have taken advantage of when it was fresh. Cause I do love Instagram. And then, of course, TikTok.
I like Instagram a lot better.
I do too. I find that my Instagram is like way more positive than my Facebook. Like, I don't know if it's just because of like the media that people put out. If it's just like, I don't know. It's just a different community. It's a different vibe all in itself. And like, I like to, if I'm going to spend my time on social media, it's usually on Instagram. So yeah.
Same. Instagram gives me that broad spectrum of people. Facebook is more like local people you've grown up with, family, friends, that type of thing. So usually you're pretty much going to see the same thing. You know, we're in the South, so we got the whole Bible Belt situation going on. But Instagram, it's like you have people from all over with totally different views and beliefs, and it's like a melting pot. That is like so cool to be a part of. So that's like my fave. I still get on Facebook every now and then, but Instagram has more. Now, I don't know about Snapchat. I don't know.
Yeah, I use it like briefly, but again, I think it's more of like for dating people or something. I don't know.
Really?
I never got into it.
I couldn't. Let me tell you, I don't know how to use it, and so apparently there's like a feature where you can like send stuff to everyone that you follow or something. And I was thinking people were personally like sending these things to me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it is so sweet. And then my friend was like, no, they're like sending that to everybody. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave this app alone.
I left Snapchat alone probably about it's going on. It's probably 4 years. I still keep it on my phone just because I have photos in there that are saved, but I don't fool with that one.
I don't do it at all. And now Instagram has the filters, so you don't even need Snap.
That's right. And so you use social media for what you do, right? Like was that where the core of that comes into play?
Yes. So social media for me has kind of been a toxic relationship over the years. Even from MySpace, it was crazy. I have gained more more of a tribe, I would say, on like Instagram, just because I went from having a facade more so, right? From having kids with a preacher's son and having to look the part, or dating a minister and having to look the part. But by then I was a little bit more mature, and so I just wasn't who I really wanted to be on social media. And then it was more so like I could be who I wanted to be, right? So I would post things and it just really wasn't who I was. Like fake, if you want to call it. That just wasn't me. And then after a turning point, I was just like, I don't want to be that person anymore. Like, somebody's going to be able to pull my card and they're going to be able to say, that's not her. Like, she doesn't live like that or what have you. So when I started being just more transparent, one of the turning moments early on was my daughter had gotten sick and I had like all this pride and I didn't realize her insurance had lapsed. And I was like, oh God, who can I ask? And I was like, let me just ask Facebook. Because at this point, she had got like a ringworm from daycare. And I didn't realize that they can get like under the hair follicle. So like a whole patch of her. It was crazy. But I just asked Facebook. I'm like, listen, my daughter's insurance lapsed. I don't know. They told me this medication was like $900. And where can I get it from? And so from there, moms, friends, family, they were giving me resources like, oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. Or listen, this is what happened to me. You can go to Costco. You don't have to be a member. Let them know you can get the prescription for this price. So I was like, you know what? I'm not the only one that goes through stuff. And it just kind of sucks to act like I have it all together in a sense, when clearly I have a community that would be here for me if I'm just real. And so I think a lot of people have kind of like drawn to me. It wasn't intentional as far as community goes on Instagram. But because I've shared so much over the years and just been completely transparent for the most part, as safely as I could be. Sometimes I probably tell too much. But I have women that reach out to me like, I went through the same thing. I would never post that. But I'm thankful that you did. I could never tell my story, but mine mimics yours. And I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one. So that's how it started. And now it's kind of grown into like this just safe space for people to come. Men are welcome too.
I love that. That's so incredible that like, I mean, because like you said, you hear about, I love the community aspect of it. And I love when people create these groups and they create these communities, because I think, especially as women, we feel like we have this persona to keep up, the strong mom, the strong woman, like, and and then when we do have problems or things that come up, like we feel ashamed. I think, society's kind of like conditioned us to feel that way, and so we don't talk about it. And then when you have that space where you can say, this is what's going on, and there's no judgment, like, it's an amazing feeling. And so you've created No Sage Required, right? Tell me about that.
Yes. So No Sage Required came, and this is no shade to anyone that uses sage. It's not, I promise. But I had like a kind of like a crazy breakup. It wasn't like nasty, like, oh my gosh, we're fighting or anything, but it was just like really hurtful. And during that time, I had started therapy again, and the internet, it was like when the sage trend hit, it was like right then where it was like more popular online. So everybody was like selling it. It's like, oh my gosh, if you smudge, your life will get better. And so I was like, me and my therapist were talking, and he was like, if that's what you want to utilize, absolutely go for it. But at the end of the day, if you just close your eyes and breathe, life is going to get better, right? Realize that you're here, you're in the moment, and if you're already at the bottom, the only place to go is up. So I was just like, it's no sage required. Like, we can do this. We can close our eyes. We can breathe. We can inhale, exhale, and realize that life is going to be great or better than it is right then afterwards. So that's where it came from. So I just kind of, ran with that over the years.
That's amazing. And so this is a space for, I looked you up. This is a space for Black and brown women, right? Tell me why that's important.
Yes. Yes. Because I feel like we don't really have a ton of spaces that are just for us, and the things that we deal with as far as just being Black, brown, or whatever color you are, women, is usually a shared space, and sometimes we can't relate to certain things. And so it's essentially for anyone, but especially for those Black and brown women, because we don't have those spaces that are readily available to us at any given moment, anywhere. We're not always accepted. There's certain, stereotypes and things that we have to deal with that other races or colors may not have to on a daily basis. So this is going to be a space where it's like, you're here. We are here for you. There are women that look like you, and that clearly are probably going through the same things that you are. And we have a community for you. So I launched it like a couple years ago, and then, life happened, work got busy. So I put it to the side. And so now I'm just, because on my personal page, Big Chynna is where everybody's like in my DMs messaging me for advice. We used to do story time all the time. And so I kind of want to move the community over to its own space. So it's not like in my personal DMs, but more so on the No Sage Required page, where we can have like a forum or a get together. I'm planning like a Zoom call in a couple weeks, probably like in a week or two, just for back to school, because moms in general have been stressed. We had an event for moms, carpools and cocktails. It was really great. Let the moms come out. They could not. I made every mom write down, if they were to meet somebody new, what they would tell them about themselves and their kids, right? Because as soon as you meet someone, it's like, oh, I'm a mom. Really? How many kids do you have? How old are they? Oh my gosh, what school do they go to? Did you have an epidural, cesarean section? Did you do IVF? So they had to write all of that down on the paper, and then I made them turn it over. And I was like, this is what we're not talking about the whole night. So it was kind of like, don't say baby at the baby shower. I wanted them to be able to kind of come out of that shell and just enjoy resting, take your cape off, because that's literally what we have on every single day. We were someone before we were moms. So kind of like centering who their identity was in that moment, and some were like, oh, I don't have anything going on. I'm like, oh, you absolutely do. You do. You absolutely do. No matter where if you're a stay-at-home mom, you have to have an identity outside of that, because it's going to consume you. So we're going to more so be working on trying to have a safe space for women, moms, friends, sisters, whoever, to come get mental health information, get resources. I have a therapist that's going to do a Zoom call for us to just kind of give us, some insight on things to do for when school starts back, when you get stressed. We're working into the temperatures dropping. We've got seasonal depression coming through, along with COVID and the holidays, and people still grieving over deaths that of their loved ones, or could have been COVID, could have been something else. And so the holidays kind of gets people to this space where it's like, if you don't have anyone, or you don't have anyone to talk to, there's no telling what could happen. So by next year, I'm going to have everything up and running by November. But by next year, we're really going to hit the ground running on No Sage Required.
Oh my gosh, that's so phenomenal. I was so excited to share this with my listeners. And I loved how you talked about the identity of a mother or a woman, because, we had a conversation before the podcast, and that was one thing that really stuck out to me. And I'm a part of a progressive moms group on Facebook, and they did a post, and they were like, let's introduce ourselves so that we can get more friends. And literally, I had to be like, oh my gosh, Chynna said, don't say the first thing. Don't say it. Yeah.
Don't say that you are a mom, because that's like, so here's the thing. When we did the mom event, I said, okay, when dads go out, they're not like, hey, are you a dad? Because I'm a dad. They literally, like, I'm like, so we need to take notes from dads sometimes, because they live in their element, right? When they introduce themselves, it may be like, hey, I'm John, I'm the CEO of this particular company. The marriage and the kids and the family, all of that's last, because they're letting you know, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is who is attached to me. Moms are the complete opposite. It's like, hey, I'm a mom. I go from scratch. I love my kids. I go to church, and this is this. And then it's like, so what do you do? What do you enjoy? Well, I enjoy playing with my kids. What do you enjoy outside of these children? Because I was a whole hot mess before I had kids, okay? I was having a ball. So I'm like, I kind of had to get that back. We had did a podcast episode with my friend Mila about being just more than a mom. You have to find your identity outside of that, and sometimes it's hard. I don't judge those that do. And I try to, like, if someone introduces themselves to me, I'll say, what's your name? What do you do? What do you like? What do you enjoy outside of your children? Because we know, that's natural for most people. But you really kind of have to center yourself outside of that, or you're going to resent not having that identity outside of your kids. Because kids are going to go up at some point, and they're going to leave the nest. And then you're going to be whatever age you are when that is, trying to figure out what you like in life, because your whole life has been centered around your children. And you also need an escape from that. You can't have like, for me, it was like, I didn't resent being a mom, but I think one day on Facebook I posted, I was like, I just do not like my kids today. Just don't like them. I don't know what's going on. Just don't like them today. They're not listening, this and the third. And they're like, well, what do you do outside of your kids? Because I was like the Pinterest mom, so I could like meal plan. My kids I still spoil them in a sense, but they still get like a home cooked lunch for school in their little thermal containers. I could make Play-Doh and noodles, and I like this summer I did a whole camp crew summer camp for my kids. So like, I'm that mom, but it's still important for me to say, okay, you know what, I'm a mom, but I still have friends that may not even have kids. Let me hang around them and see, enjoy myself, let my hair or lack thereof down. And then when I get with my mommy friends, of course, enjoy something with them outside of, like, I like art. I can go to a gallery. Will I take my kids sometimes? Absolutely. They tear my nerves up the whole time, but we go. And I've kind of, gotten them into some of the things I like as well, but it's really important for me.
I love that.
To have something outside
and I can
of them.
I can connect with you on that. And like, I get what you're saying. And I think, I just want to like emphasize too that like, the reason why we're saying this is because American culture, maybe even not necessarily American culture, I know there's other cultures that very much put a lot of pressure on mom to be mom and to be literally like super mom. You do everything, you work, you cook, you clean, you take care of the kids, like everything. And like, and that's cool. That's cool that you can do that. But at the same time, it's very important that we don't lose our sense of self and who we are. I know that for myself, where I'm getting at with this, like I'm trying not to go here and there because I have so many things I want to talk about with you. But I have an 8-month-old, and when I decided to, and I have a 9-year-old, and so when I decided, my husband and I decided to have a child together, I was like pumped to do it, but then like once I got pregnant, like the realization like hit me, because I just recently felt like, because of my oldest daughter being so old, I was finally getting to be like who Jessica was and doing what I want to do, and really like embracing my art career and like focusing on myself. And so when I was, when the realization of like, okay, now I'm going to have an infant to take care of, like, how do I balance that? And I think that like, finding that happy medium, that you can still be a great mom and you can do all the cool things that moms do and be proud of, like you said, meal prepping and taking them to the zoo, but like don't lose yourself in that, because I think that that's where a lot of like depression and anxiety and things like that, because we feel like we're grabbing and we're doing and all this stuff, and we don't take time for ourselves and like really truly genuinely have a self-care regimen, I think is important.
Right. And it was a lot of women that had started on, like you said, some form of a career or just getting into the things that they love. And then they have a kid. And, you know, even when you're a new mom, you kind of put things to the side, like, okay, I want to just make sure I pour into this child. I don't want to be deprived of anything. And so you lose what you were doing in the beginning. And so now you have your child, you spent, you know, years pouring into this child, and your craft or whatever you love so much has been on the back burner. And now you're scrambling trying to find yourself. You don't understand why you're depressed or why you have anxiety or why you have resentment because your kid is waking up in the morning crying, but you get to watch your partner, you know, go to work or start a new project or what have you. And so, like you said, having that balance is extremely important.
Yeah.
And that's what, like on the podcast, we're like, that's a non-negotiable. That's a non-negotiable. I tell mom, just start acting like dad sometimes, you know, leave the kids. It'll be like, moms will be like, oh my gosh, you know, they were talking about like they were going on vacation. It was like, I don't want to leave my baby here. I'm like, girl, leave that baby. As long as you have a reliable sitter, obviously, and they're safe, leave that baby and just go enjoy yourself. The baby is going to be fine. I promise. And let your hair down, relax, and get the full gist of your trip or your vacation. You know, you can't really vacate if every 5 minutes you're calling to check on your child. But just, you know, do your normal check-ins. I would book, like I want to say before Corona first started, I would book a hotel room and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Seriously. And I would tell their dad, do not call me, do not text me, do not FaceTime me. I just need a full day to myself. I don't want to think about a child. I don't want to think about a lunchbox. I don't want to think about Roblox. I don't want to think about toys. I just want a full day to myself. And everyone's like, oh, you're not going to call the kids? Absolutely not. They know I love them. I talk to them every single day, multiple times a day. But I just needed that moment to just kind of like clear my mind. Even though you still hear like the phantom cries when you get in the shower. But, you know, just to kind of like pour back into myself, because moms are usually pouring from an empty cup. And we're still trying to refill while pouring into the rest of the family. And, you know, some moms look up and have a great dad that makes sure he, you know, it's pretty much balanced between the two of them. And then you have some who don't have, you know, the dad isn't in their life at all and they're doing it all alone. So you kind of have to compartmentalize each mom a little bit differently. But it essentially, at the end of the day, is very important to make sure that you are setting that time aside, pouring back into yourself, and also just making sure that even if everybody doesn't have a hobby, everybody doesn't have a craft or what have you, like you said, I'm more the artsy person, so that's my thing. But
even if
find
it's
something
even
that
if it's
is
just
yours.
going out and like getting your nails done,
it's yours.
or just reading,
or reading, or just anything. Find that, set a time, and say, just the same way you would do for your children's doctor's appointments or their routine physicals or their dentist appointments, set a time to yourself and don't feel guilty about putting your phone on Do Not Disturb. The kids are fine. And enjoy being there with you, because it made such a difference for me. Like, I was just like so consumed with my children that when me and their dad split, I used to have them every day because I kind of had like separation anxiety. And so everything I did was with them outside of work. And so when we split, he was like, I want the kids 50% of the time. I had a whole fit.
This is not going to work.
No, this is dysfunctional. My kids, this is like a broken home. Like, what am I going to do? Oh my goodness. And it was more so because I didn't have anything to do outside of them. I remember the first week he kept them, because my therapist was like, well, I kind of know he's probably doing it because you have separation anxiety. However, give him the kids. Just give them to him. Give him the children. Let him take them. Take that time for yourself. So the first thing I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I literally sat on the couch like, okay, you know what? I'm going to catch up on 10,000 SVU episodes that I've seen a million times and watch Criminal Minds. And then like after a while, I started getting back into things that I like to do.
Yeah.
And then I started dating. So that opened up a whole nother door. And so then from there, I was like, that was the best decision ever. Literally after that, it's
that's
been
awesome.
go mode ever since. And that was in
I connect with you on
2017.
that one. My oldest daughter goes to her dad's for a week and with me for a week. And when this has been, so she was 5 when we split, and same thing. Kid had never like left my side except for when I went to work. Like never spent the night with like a family member except for me.
Right.
And I literally thought my whole entire world was coming to an end when I knew I had to leave her with him for a week. Like I was like, it was the worst. And it took it did take a long time. I will have to say it took a long time for me to like get okay with that. But then like once we got into a routine, like I knew she was being taken care of. So like it really wasn't anything to worry about as far as that goes. And then those weeks that I had for myself, I almost felt guilty because I was like, oh, I don't have to take care of anything, like anybody but myself. It was amazing. So, that just, giving you guys a little bit of a taste of like that feeling. Like you may feel guilty for a while when you start to put yourself first. But then it is, and it's oh my gosh, it's so heavy and terrible.
Mom guilt is real.
But then when you start to like realize that you do need that time for yourself and those things for yourself and like treating yourself. Cause like, I know that we're in like this new world of like treat yourself and all this and that, but like genuine, like really, truly self-care. Not just, going, I mean, if shopping is your thing and you want to go shopping and that's your therapy, but like find something that really fills that void for you and really recharges you. So that like you said, you're not pouring from an empty cup. But yeah, I could totally connect on that one. And and realizing that there is going to be guilt. I don't know that I can say that there's not going to be. And it
right. And social media, I've seen. So my mentality for in thought process and grace and favor when it comes to moms is so different. And I see, arguments online and I'm like, oh my God, okay, calm down. Cause I will literally go in the comments and write a novel to these people like I know these moms. But social media makes it worse, right? Because mom guilt is real. Mom guilt is real. And I have moms that'll say, oh my God, my kid got a cavity. I feel like such a failure. Oh my God, my kid caught COVID. I feel like such a failure. I don't know how this happened. Oh my goodness, my baby broke his leg. I don't know how this happened. Even when COVID first hit, I was like, I had a little bit myself because my kid's dad coaches overseas for basketball. And so he's not here all the time. And so COVID hit. We're doing virtual schooling with 3 children who all have to have some form of electronic that they have to be signed in on. I have to sign into work. So I'm still working 40 hours and trying to make sure that they're in their classes at the same time. And so I couldn't really pay attention to them because I'm not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a mediator. I don't know how virtual schooling, works. I have my 6-year-old at the time. Honey, he was not paying attention to that screen. And I couldn't watch them. And my older ones, they kind of knew the routine, but it was like, I don't want to sit at this iPad all day, And so I felt like, oh gosh, I'm such a bad mom. Like I'm so used to having everything under control that now I'm slipping. And I don't have grasp on anything. And then when we were talking about it on Facebook, I'm like, hey, that's all of us. We don't have to feel guilty about that. We're not super women. We're not super mom. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, it's okay. If your kids only ate spaghetti noodles with no sauce and had one sock on at the end of the day, and they have been watching TV for 18 hours and they are alive, they're fine. You're good to go. It happens. But I had to get into a process of coming out of that guilt and allowing others to make you feel guilty or shame you, because mommy shaming is real as well. And so a lot of the times you internalize that. And I tell people all the time, one, when you first accept the fact that you are going to pour into yourself and live unapologetically, whether you are a mom, a woman in general, what have you, you're going to have to, if you feel guilty about something yourself, fine. Don't allow anyone else to make you feel guilty, because everybody, when it comes to projecting guilt, a lot of these people are projecting it because they have internalized traumas from, being grandmas or great grandmas, or, they wish that they have at some point realized that they could have a life outside of children. They didn't have the same resources that we had. A lot of them had to stay home with the kids. They couldn't really work. You could barely have a bank account. So times are different. And I know some people's visions and morals and values stay stuck in, the 1950s and 60s. But sweetheart, it is 2021. If you want to leave those kids with their grandmother for a week because you need a break, do that. Do not feel bad, because a lot of the times this guilt and this shame is the reason why a lot of these moms are, trigger warning, committing suicide or killing their children because of that pressure, when we should be a community and say, you work 40, even if you don't work, you stress. Kids are stressful. They don't come with a manual, and you already carried this child for 9 months and had to deal with your body doing all types of crazy things. The kid is here now, and now you're having to really kind of want your main body back. And you've got social media telling you that you're supposed to look like you were when you were 17, when, back after you have the child. So you're trying to fit into that, and you're competing with celebrities who had lipo and waist trainers and what have you. Now you have a kid and everybody's like, oh, well, you shouldn't be out the house, or you shouldn't go have drinks with your friends. You shouldn't be doing this because you just had a baby.
Yeah.
He just had a baby too. Seriously. So get into that space where you feel unapologetically about what you are getting ready, that journey you're getting ready to take, and hit the gas. Because it's going to happen. We have moms who, some of the moms had grandparents help raise the kids. Some of them, did it on their own, and they want you to kind of slide into their same oppression. No, I'm not here for it. And I will tell somebody quick, that's not how I run it over here. Now it's still a circus over here, but it's my circus. Okay? It's still a circus. Don't let me fool you. I don't have it all together. I break down just like everyone else. It's still a circus, but it's my circus. I'm in control of it. And I still do, I still make time for me to do what I want to do. And, I may post something on Facebook that's kind of taboo. And, the women will say, oh, this, that, and the third. And then the men will say, well, what kind of mom is that? You're not a mom, so I wouldn't expect you to understand. So go ahead and answer the conversation. Yeah, because it's like they kind of, some of the men that are online kind of feed into this,
I think in a lot of that comes
what a mom is supposed to look like on social media.
Like visions of what mothers are, and they see their mom as like the holy grail. And even though like their mom was probably an amazing mom, but she was like pressured into doing that. And it's just, it builds on top of each other. So we're talking about generations of like, toxic, it's been embedded into women of like certain things and certain ways that we're supposed to do. And so, that's where the men like to come into that and have opinions, is because they're looking at their mom, not realizing that like they should actually have sympathy for their mom and be like, you know what, like my mom was a great mom, but like it is kind of shitty that she had to do all that on her own. And like, she didn't have any help, like, like looking at it from that lens, as opposed to, the lens that they've just been conditioned. So I feel like some of it's not really like, it's not their fault, as in like that's just what they were brought up to believe. But at some point we have to like make and same thing for women, at some point we have to make those decisions and say, I'm stopping this right here. I'm not doing this. I don't want my daughter to do this. And so, or I don't want my son to expect his wife to be like that. Because like, everyone always likes to say, oh, it's a 50-50 relationship. But, it needs to be 50-50 across the board, so.
Yeah. And like I said, the guys, usually for me, I'm like, you take a guy, for instance, and you say, let's just talk about somebody I was dating, came from a two-parent household. Parents are, prominent in the community. They have really good jobs or careers. They've been on for God knows how long, so they're probably going to retire from them. They've got the family pictures and the siblings and all that good stuff, and it looks amazing. And I'm like, sitting at dinner like, yeah, so how long have they been married? Oh, okay. And your mom does what? Okay. She doesn't look very happy. Like, she looks like this is taking a toll on her. She probably needed Xanax. I'm just gonna be real.
Will.
I listen, because I told, like, because people will shame you for taking medication. I'm like, it's either that or crack. Like, I'm not here ready to play with y'all.
Right.
So if you don't want me on a street drug, let me get something prescribed, please.
Nobody
for this.
knew.
And a lot of the moms were on it back then, but it was so taboo to even talk about it. Nobody's like, hey, I'm taking medication for my anxiety and depression. Versus now, I can put it on Facebook and everybody's like, what type of medication do you take? What side effects did you have? And so I'm like, the looks of it, it's the facade of a happy family. And then when you break it down, it's like, oh, this whole situation is toxic. And she's never poured into herself in that way. She has a career, but she works. That's what she does outside of work. And you all, now she's almost 70 and I don't know what she enjoys, and now it's like they kind of project that onto their children, like, oh, why does a content creator, why would you date someone that does that? Why do you want to date a girl that would leave her kids and go on vacation for 2 weeks? Or they weaponize you making yourself a priority because they don't understand it. And so you got to kind of have grace there, even to explain it, like, I am not your mom. I'm not. That's nice for her. It feels, I'm sure she loved it while she could do it. And if she was traumatized, she's never going to show it until, maybe your dad passes first and she can have a tell-all
I heard a commercial the other day on the radio that was talking about retirement and, reaching 65 and now you get to do what you want to do and live your life. And, and I was like, why do I have to wait until we're 65? Like, why can't I do that now?
At all. Right. Because at 60, like, even when you wait, it's like, I think they had like a meme that was like, can we retire at like 30? And I'm like, I feel you, because you wait until you get 65.
Well, because you've been worked to death, first of all.
You're not in good health by then. That's why most of them, like, right, you've been worked to death. You finally, now you have kids and grandkids. And a lot of them, because I would go to places and I would feel so bad. So my grandfather worked until he was, I want to say 90 or 91. Not because he had to, but because he was bored. It was like, I'm retired, so what do I do now? Sit at the house all day? I mean, they have like their friends that are older that they get to kind of hang with, maybe at like Macy's or something. I know. But once you get that old, it's like, I want to rest. I may travel here and there, but it's like, what are you gonna do at 65 that you like, live in the moment, get your younger years, do what you can, be unapologetic about it to like the 100%.
Right. I don't want to wait until I'm 65 you can say, oh my gosh, to live. I have lived. I wanna live now.
Like, I have lived.
Yeah.
Exactly. And enjoy it. Enjoy it. Because by then, now your kids are older. Now
I don't think it's gonna
probably babysitting.
Right.
So,
well, and when I'm sure when you throw in the grandkids, then you feel obligated to like stay around so you can see them. So like, it's such a gross like cycle that we've created for ourselves. But like, let's break it, guys, and like, normalize doing things for yourself, doing things as couples without children. And then doing your family things, like your family vacations and stuff too. But like, such great advice. I love it. I do want to circle back to your community that you are working on building. And because I am a white woman, and I've seen where these can be hot topics for having groups specifically for women of color. On Facebook, it's probably been about a year or so ago, like, there's a hobby that my daughter used to be a part of. And so there was a private Facebook group that was created for women of color, their children. So they were doing this hobby, and it required hair and makeup and, different things like that. And so they created this group where they could bounce off, each other, how to handle, how to do their hair for this event, and like, what do you suggest for that? And so, and then it somehow or another, like, white women found out that there was this private group, and then they got in their feelings about saying that was not okay, that they shouldn't create this group and not let white women in because it, that's prejudice or whatever. And I'm like, you guys are missing. Like, you're missing the whole entire thing. Like, there is nothing in that group that I can benefit from because I don't have the same problems that a Black woman has. And so I want to really, I want to talk about that because I think it's so important that, all races have an understanding of, there are different things that affect different races in all aspects of life. So tell me about, the importance of having a community that is just for women of color.
Mm-hmm. I think the importance is at the end of the day. So just for an example, if you go to Pinterest and you type in anything, right? It could be braids. The first thing that comes up is white women with braids. You have to type in Black women with braids or Black women. Even if you did fall outfits, everyone that comes up for the most part is going to be either a white or some other race of a woman. And those spaces happen naturally. There's no space that hasn't initially been created for a white woman or someone that identifies as being white to enter in at any given moment, right? But with Black women, we don't necessarily have that. There's no space. There's no Pinterest. If Pinterest was open and we typed in cornrows and we popped up first, then like, okay, we feel like we are included. There's not a lot of spaces that are inclusive to Black women initially. They may make a space for us after someone says something, but not initially. White women are pretty much open to anything. If something happens, if they have a group or what have you, usually there's no, oh, well, am I able to come into the group? Because naturally that's what they're created for. Black women don't really have that luxury, right? And so when we get into these spaces, we're dealing with, systematic oppression. We're dealing with, I know they have like a Black moms group on Facebook because Black women, as far as doctors and things are going, we're dying and even giving birth, dying at higher rates than white women. We haven't had access to the same medical care or level of medical care in years. We're dealing with, different racial stereotypes, things that are happening to us that may not naturally be happening to other races. And so those particular spaces are for us to feel safe, because I've been in other groups that are like, there was a mommy group that seems more so, progressive on Facebook, and it's just for stay-at-home moms. It's predominantly white. There's Black women that are in there, but they may say things that are insensitive. We may ask a question they may not naturally understand where we're coming from. Our opinions can sometimes be gaslighted or, what have you. Then you're dealing with, when it came down to politics, it was major racial issues that you're looking at. Like, I had a friend on Instagram, love her to death, and I was like, I don't think she knows that seems kind of racist. That post. Now, has she ever done anything to me? Never. She's never said anything out the way. She's never made me feel uncomfortable. And sometimes I think it's not even something that they intentionally do. It's just natural. You're talking to your parents, you see a joke, you post it, you think it's funny, and it's funny to your target audience who is predominantly white, but then you have three Black friends who are on here who is like, so yeah, I'm not coming to your house for Thanksgiving dinner. And so those spaces where we just kind of feel like we have a community with each other, we feel safe with stating certain things are happening to, our Black sons. We've got, Black women or Black trauma that we are trying to overcome. We have Black generational curses that we're trying to break. And for us to come together and have that space where it's us and we've got each other's back, because at the end of the day, white women are going to have an outpouring of support, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Black women don't get that. Even down to the girl that was missing. What was her name? Gabby, I think it was. She's all over national news. And then you have the people saying, hey, we've got
indigenous
Black
women
girls that are missing. I've seen them maybe twice. They've never made it to CNN. We've got some indigenous people that are missing, and they've been missing for God knows how long, and we haven't seen anything about them. We have, the situation that's going on with the Haitians that are trying to come over. So it's like, we need a space where we can comfort each other, console each other, have sympathy and empathy and grace and favor to know that these are things that we're dealing with that other races may not have to. And sometimes we just don't have the space to explain it because it gets old. It's like, how do you not know? You know? And even then, when there was a girl that was on Facebook when they stormed the Capitol, made a simple comment on her personal Facebook, of course. And she had, I usually say don't put anything on the internet that you wouldn't want screenshotted anyway, because nothing's really, you know, secretive. But she posted it. Black people could understand where she was coming from, but one of the, I guess, the white ladies that work in her office reported it and she got fired. And so it's like, that's not even a safe space for you to have a conversation about how if Black people had stormed the Capitol, really, we wouldn't even be able to storm it. We probably could have walked like too fast up the front steps and it would have been a wrap. So those spaces, right, and we need those particular spaces. We need those. And sometimes, you know, we kind of get defensive when, you know, white women or white people, because for me, sometimes there is a sense of entitlement that comes with not being Black. You are entitled to any space that you want to walk in because you are welcome into those particular spaces. So when someone blocks off a space and says, this is so these particular people who are not welcome into the beauty supply stores, they're rarely welcome into luxury stores. You know, even Oprah has dealt with it. What was it? I forgot what store it was. It didn't even want to sell her a bag. It was like, who do you think you are trying to buy a bag from us? And it's Oprah, you know? And so we aren't welcome into a lot of these spaces that everyone else naturally has entitlement to. Even, you know, even though they've changed the white only signs, it's always been a space that was held for you all. And Black people have drifted to these particular, even if it's a hole in the wall, it's ours. We're safe. We don't have to worry about racism in that sense. We do have our own, you know, issues to work out with each other, but it's just somewhere for us to gather. And we don't naturally have that. For instance, there's a, I don't smoke, but I don't judge people who do because life is crazy. There is a group for white women that, well, it's not necessarily for white women, but that's all that's in there for the most part. It's like moms that smoke cannabis or something. And so it's like all these white women that are like smoking with their kids. And, you know, making it look like it's the coolest thing in the world.
I was going to say that.
Black women are kind of looking at this like, now, if this was us with a group smoking cannabis or taking whatever, some form
and
of
even
THC,
if that wasn't the case, like, you've just got people looking at you like, oh, you're a shitty, trashy mom. Like, and so, just the...
Like, Right. And so they've created these spaces where it's naturally accepted for women that look like them. Whereas Black women really don't have that luxury to do that sometimes. And that just comes with, you know, how people view us in the beginning. So it was really important to create a space that even if everyone wants to join, because everyone is welcome, this space is intentionally safe for us. And you can come in and bring, you know, your trauma that most Black women will be able to relate to, you know, dealing with even, you know, the police situations or anything of that nature, what America has had to watch. You know, we've kind of got desensitized to seeing Black people getting killed on Facebook and Instagram. They go live, they post it. They release the police videos all the time. They don't show, to me, I haven't, now this is just me and my experience, I haven't seen too many like white slangs by police officers on Facebook or online, but I do think they intentionally post more Black people to kind of desensitize us to seeing it. But we need that. We need that space as Black women, as Black moms, just as Black people in general. And hopefully
so
someone will start off on the side for Black men, because that's a whole nother story. They definitely need their own space. Yes, please. I've got some people I can send to you, but that was really important to me. That was really important to me. Just and I've mimicked, you know, I've seen some of the other ones, some of the other groups that, you know, they have therapy for Black girls, because I worked in insurance, and I lie to you not, I will tell you, white people do not play about therapy. They don't play about their mental health. It will be a mom that will come and say, my son is not listening. I don't know what's going on. He's 4. He has behavioral issues. I need a therapist. Black people have not had access to that. We haven't had access to a lot of things in the medical or mental health field that other races do. And so trying to have a space where it's like, listen, it's okay to see a therapist. It doesn't make you crazy. Even if you are mentally well, go see one. It may help you with your job. It may help you unpack, childhood traumas and abuse or what have you. And so we need those resources. We need someone or a space to kind of say, hey, you need help? Here's a resource for that. Or I have a therapist for that. Or I know someone that can help you. Whereas other races have been doing this forever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and I think the moral here of the story is that, like, I can speak on this because I am a white woman. Not everything is for me. The thing is that I think that people need to understand and sympathize and empathize with is that your problems are going to look different from my problems.
Absolutely.
And your culture, like just everything about, what you've had to deal with in life, what your ancestors have had to deal with in life.
Absolutely.
And you have a space where you can connect and communicate and, like you said, feel safe and not judged. Because I can imagine that if you were in a group of people that were not like you or not 100% like you, if you have some deep stuff that you want to talk about, you're scared to. And I 100% understand that. So, like, I think that
I want to say when the George Floyd situation happened, there were like so many posts on Facebook and people didn't understand the uproar.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you got these public forums where if you share a status, let's say it went viral, you've got people saying, oh, he should have just complied. Or, now we've got the Trayvon Martin case and we have all of these kids who have been slain by someone of a different race, a white race, and you're gaslighting us. You're being insensitive. You're telling us that this outpour of hurt and misunderstanding and community that we have, you're telling us there's no point of that. Like, why are you crying over spilled milk? He had a counterfeit $20 bill or what have you. And so it doesn't feel like a safe space online. And these are spaces where, let's be clear, we're online all day. Most people have their phone in their hand majority of the day. We're on Facebook, and people don't understand the power of it because you do internalize that. And so it's bad enough that you have to deal with it in reality when you step outside the door. If you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to send my son to the store to get an Arizona and a pack of Skittles, there's a certain hurt that's going to, or a certain scare, a certain amount of care I have to have with sending my Black son to do that, because we've already seen what can happen when he leaves the house, versus a white woman sending her son. He makes it there, he makes it back home. Mine didn't. And now they're telling me that I don't need a space to talk to moms like me who have sons that look like mine about what happened, because we all have kids. That's not how it works. And it would be nice. I don't think we would even need a space if everyone had some form of, emotional maturity online. If they could empathize with Black people, but it just doesn't work that way.
No, we've got
a lot of the time. Now we do have allies who are online and they do not play. But then you have some who, and I can't say I blame all of them because they've been conditioned. It was a guy, I think he was like, what was he? Probably like 80 or something. And, his daughter had told him that she was a lesbian, and he had like a full-blown heart attack about it online. And then he came back to apologize. He was like, that's how I grew up, and I really don't understand it. And I didn't want to understand it because nobody wants to be able to say that, but I love my child. And so now they have a space. But for some odd reason, when it comes to Black people or Black women, there is just, the understanding goes out the door. I don't know why.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. For sure.
It does. It does.
I always wish that I know myself personally, 2021, I did a hell of a lot of growing. With everything that went on with George Floyd and, the countless other things that happened. You just have to sometimes like take a step back and realize, I grew up, where I grew up, in the South. it's just, even though you feel like you are not like as bad as some, you realize the little things and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize that like that could have kind of potentially been considered this way. Like, so like you just have to really analyze yourself and take a step back and be like, okay. And then educating yourself. And that's what I've been, for the last like pretty much since COVID, like when all that went down, like I was like, oh my God, I've got so much. I thought I was doing good, but I have so much learning to do. And I think that's the thing.
We all do.
It's a constantly educate yourself, constantly learn and learn empathy and just understanding, and hopefully.
Right. We got like so much learning and unlearning to do at the same time. And so it's like, woo, okay, how do I even do this? By the time you've learned something else, now you have to unlearn and unpack everything else.
And then, ultimately,
it's definitely a process.
Absolutely. And then ultimately, I want to learn so that I can teach my child the right way to be, and that way that my child doesn't continue on in the way that, the way that America has been going, that we can stop that, fix the youth, like help the youth so that we can just freaking stop it. So
right.
But oh my gosh. So like, I mean, what you're doing is just phenomenal, incredible. I'm going to link all of your social media stuff so that anybody that's listening to the show and is interested in joining your group or your community, they can do that. But I do have a few questions that I like to ask all of my guests. So if you don't mind, we'll jump right into those. We like to talk about stepping into our own power and not thinking of that as a bad thing. I know a lot of times when we think of the word power, powerful, it has this bad stigma, and we're trying to break that with the show. How would you describe the power that you have to try to step into every day?
The power that I have to, so my power more so is with self, right? The power that I have to step into every single day is to, one, wake up, make sure that I am mentally okay. Let me do a mental check with myself, because everything kind of stems from self for me. So when I have me together, I can exude. I feel like I have control over everything, right? Because that's usually what anxiety is. Like, you don't have control over everything. And so for me, it's making sure that, mentally I'm here. Physically, I'm able to show up. Emotionally, I can, feel what I need to. And if I feel like anything is off from that, then I have to regroup and we start doing those self-evaluations. And once I'm like, okay, I feel there's some days I'm like, okay, I just don't have it, right? Like, turn the switch off, I'm powerless. And even then there's power in that moment. But the days that I have to wake up and feel like I'm running into my power is making sure that I am okay. And I may not ever be at 100%, because nobody ever really is. But sometimes those days where I'm like 80, 90, those are good days too. And you're still powerful. Your power is still on. And so that's just what it is for me. Just making sure that I am here for myself in the most healthiest way possible in every aspect.
I love that. That is phenomenal, empowering words right there. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
The best?
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot. So like, just one that pops into your head.
Oh my goodness. Can we curse on here?
I should always tell my guests that ahead of time. They're always worried. I'm like, no, I'm like a sailor over here. Go ahead.
I want to say the best advice I've ever gotten was really just fuck those other people. Just fuck their opinions, because it's so much. It's holding yourself to a standard of someone else is so complex, and people don't realize it. It's not a blanket thing. And even down to, like I said, social media is what really made it worse. But somebody was like, I may post something and I may feel like, dang, somebody's going to think this. And I'm like, fuck those people. Like, and one of my good friends, Ashley Washington, she says it all the time. She's like, fuck them, fuck them people. Like, do not worry about those particular people. Worry about yourself. People can judge you, and they are technically, nobody's really equipped to judge anyone, but you have people that are behind a computer screen that are judging you for the things that you may have done or they've seen that you post. And like you may say, oh, you know what? I'm not going into work today. Oh my gosh, you're lazy. Meanwhile, they don't even work. So it's just like, fuck those people. Do what you want to do. Live your life unapologetically because you're the one that has to live it. And don't live for anyone else. And that's just really where I've been with it. Ever since then, I've just been on my own little wave. Like, I do what I wanted to do. And obviously, you know, not all of my decisions are grand. But it was still something I wanted to do in the moment, whether it was toxic or not. So that's really the best advice I can give anybody else. Fuck those people. Worry about yourself. Do what makes you happy, even if that does not look like happiness to anyone else, because that's subjective. Do what makes you happy. Do what brings you joy. Do what you want to do. If you feel good after you do it, as long as it's legal, hopefully. That's all that matters. So that's really the kind of the wave that I've been on.
For sure. I'm gonna like put that on my mirror. Like,
listen, I'm here to tell you, once you start the life-changing thing, one life-changing thing for me was realizing that a lot of people are not equipped to speak on you. They are not equipped to speak on your lifestyle. They aren't because nobody's lifestyle is the exact same. So if we literally everyone had the same deck of cards and we played them a little bit differently, then there may be, you know, something to talk about. Some people are shorter the card. Some people got more jokers than anything. Some people got, you know, all spades. Nobody's deck looks the same. And as much as people would like to think it does, it doesn't. You know, some people are playing 52 pickup. They as soon as they came into the world, they had to pick their deck up and figure out what order it went in. So somebody's trying to speak on you or project their lifestyle onto you because they don't understand, and usually that's what it is. Or it could be envy or jealousy. You know, I don't think you should be doing this because I never had the opportunity to do it myself. Once you understand that that's how a lot of people operate, you kind of free yourself from this bondage of feeling like you need acceptance from other people. And that's why I always advocate for self. I don't need to be accepted by anybody. You know, in my opinion, everybody has their own shit going on, and mine may look different from yours, but you still have something that affects you in some way. So I'm just like, no, that's something I'm gonna pour into. I'm gonna worry about me, and that's that.
It would all be a whole heck of a lot like peaceful if that was a mantra that we would just wake up every day and be like, okay, what you're doing is just, I just want to tell you, it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I think you have so many great things in your future. I can't wait to see.
Listen, I will keep it. You're going to be updated, I promise.
Yes. And I want to thank you so much on behalf of our team and every single person who heard your incredible story and connected with it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. After the podcast, I will be heading straight to create a piece of art for you.
Okay.
That is what I personally felt and saw from your incredible story.
Wonderful.
Yes. If anyone's interested in seeing the process, you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. And if you're interested in getting one of the few limited edition prints as a reminder to step into your own power, you can also do that on my Instagram and my website. I will have all of Chynna's information for you guys linked below as well, so that you guys can give her a follow through her journey as well. And of course, connect with that amazing community that she is building. But thank you so much.
Thank
Chynna,
you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I want to thank my guests again for sharing their incredible story of transformation with us. I'm going to link their social medias below so that you can give them a follow. And of course, if you guys felt personally connected to the story and you would like to support the podcast by purchasing one of the limited edition prints that goes along with it, you can do so at my new website. It is iampower.club. And of course, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at iampowerclub. And lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss next week's episode of I Am Power. We will see you then.